Go, Steve.
Okay, it is now 7 o'clock. I will call the July 2022 CEC 20 calendar meeting to order. Vito, can you take roll call, please?
And President Steve Stowe,
Here.
Vice President Jennifer Hu,
Here.
Second Vice President Elizabeth Chen,
Here.
Recording Secretary Vito Labella, present. Treasurer Marie Brugaris is excused. Councilmember Gada Amin is excused. Li Ping Jiang,
Here.
Yona Isufi,
Here.
Maya Rosenblatt,
Vito Lavello running for state senate in the 17th district. I want to lend
excuse
my
me,
voice
hold on.
along with other common sense candidates like Lee Zeldin and others who are calling.
This is not political.
Where were you, Vito? Pardon the interruption. Bear with us. Technical difficulties.
Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Was Maya the last one you called?
Yeah, is Maya here?
No.
Kevin Zhao, is he here? Kevin? And Joyce Z.
Here.
Okay, thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We gained one. We're good to go. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem. First, I will go over the agenda for tonight's meeting. No, sorry. First, I would like to remind everyone that this is a public meeting and it's being recorded. Second, I just want to announce the interpretation lines that are open tonight. We have interpretation services in Arabic, Mandarin, and Spanish.
Okay.
I will now have the interpreters introduce themselves. Could our Arabic interpreter please introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. This is Abir, Arabic interpreter. I'm here with my partner Hadia. أهلا وسهلا. للحصول على ترجمة باللغة العربية رجاء الاتصال على رقم الهاتف 347-966-4114 مع إدخال رمز غرفة اللغة العربية 612-277-914 مع علامة الهاشتاج أو الشباك. مرة أخرى رجاء الاتصال على رقم 347-966-4114 مع إدخال رمز غرفة اللغة العربية 612-277-914 مع علامة الهاشتاج. إذا كان لديكم أي استفسار أو سؤال أرجى وضعه في خانة الدردشة حتى تتم الإجابة عليه مع وضع اسمكم جانب السؤال وشكرا. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Could our Mandarin interpreter please introduce yourself?
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Mandarin interpretation announcement. 大家好，晚上好。如果需要收听中文翻译频道，请拨打347-966-4114，然后输入会议 ID 682-551-753井号键。中文翻译频道请拨打347-966-4114，会议 ID 682-551-753井号键。如果您想收听中文音频，同时在电脑上看到会议，请用电话拨打中文会议频道，然后将电脑和电话同时调成静音。再说一遍，中文翻译频道请拨打347-966-4114，然后输入会议 ID 682-551-753井号键。谢谢 ，Thank you.
Thank you. And could our Spanish interpreter please introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, good evening. The following message is going to be in Spanish offering interpretation services. Buenas tardes. Si desean escuchar esta reunión en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono el número 347-966-4114 e ingrese el código de acceso 694-513-708, signo numeral. Una vez más, para escuchar esta reunión en español, marque desde su teléfono el número 347-966-4114 e ingrese el número de conferencia 694-513-708, signo numeral. Si desea permanecer en este espacio virtual viendo la reunión en su computadora, asegúrese, por favor, de apagar el volumen de sus dispositivos y marcar desde su teléfono el C347-966-4114. Repito, 347-966-4114 y el código de conferencia 694-513-708, signo numeral. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder that because we have simultaneous interpretation throughout the meeting, everyone please try to speak slower than usual to allow the interpreters to keep up. At the end of tonight's calendar meeting, we will have a public comment session. If you would like to sign up for public speaking, you can do it using the form, a Google form that's located on the CEC website. In addition, Vito will now post the form in the chat.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Second, we will also take comments from any participants on the language lines. The interpreters will translate your comments into English. And finally, if you have called in using your phone, press *9 and I will unmute your line.
Steve,
Yes.
you will be able to, you're monitoring those forms wherever they go, and you'll see that in real time if somebody signs up.
Oh, the Google form? Yeah, there's also a link I sent you, but yes, when we get there, I can go to that, Vito. It's easy. There aren't that many.
Okay, thank you.
Preview. That's all for administrative items. Now we will go over the agenda for tonight. You can share that, right, Vito?
I will, yep.
Thank you.
I was still posting the thing. Again, please bear with me.
No worries.
Is it showing?
Not yet, but
Hold on.
probably just take a second.
I'm sorry. What the heck? I can't seem to find it on my.
Let me do it. I gotcha.
Did you see it? It's up now. I think I found it. Do you see it?
Yes,
Better late than never. I apologize again.
no problem. So the agenda for tonight's calendar meeting, if Vito, can you just scroll down? Thank you. First, we'll have old business. We'll approve the June business meeting and calendar meeting minutes. We have an additional speaker immediately before the superintendent from Councilmember Alexa Avilas's office. And then we will have Superintendent Preto give his report. And then we will have my report. Then we will have, we took care of the meeting dates at the annual meeting, so that's not an agenda item anymore. We can have a brief discussion on the budget, although most of that will happen at the August meeting. We're going to go over just the continuation of the liaison assignments. And then Jen will introduce the proposed CEC bylaw reforms. This has two components. hybrid meeting, required hybrid meeting reforms, as well as other reforms to the CEC bylaws, public speaking session, and then the only resolution is the required resolution to approve hybrid meetings going forward in the event that the suspension of the open meetings law is not extended and it expires tomorrow. So, Vito, can you pull up the June business meeting minutes, please?
Are they visible right now?
Yes, sir. So everyone, please review the June business meeting minutes. If anyone has any changes, please speak up.
I'll scroll slowly.
Thanks, Vito. That was the end of the business meeting minutes. Any changes to the June 2020 business meeting minutes? Hearing none, the minutes from the June business meeting are approved. Vito, can you share the minutes from the June calendar meeting?
May calendar meeting.
That should say June. That's not.
No, that's the right thing. It's that the top is wrong, but the.
No, I know. I can, all the content is June and it's June. This is the June calendar meeting minutes. We can change that in the final. That's one change.
Mhm.
Everyone, please review the June calendar meeting minutes. Any changes to the June calendar meeting minutes? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are approved as is.
The agenda should be showing. Back to the agenda. If you want me to get rid of that, let me know.
Yes, you can remove that. So first up, we have with us tonight Legislative and Budget Director Christina Bottego. Christina, I hope I said that right, from Councilmember Alexa Vilas's office, and she just wanted to provide a few updates. Christina, are you able to, let me make you're there?
You can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks everyone. Christina Bottego from Councilmember Avilas's office. I'm Legislative and Budget Director. You've probably seen Edward from our office here before. Just wanted to give you some quick updates. I'll try to keep it just focused on education, and then I'll go off screen and listen in. I'm sure you've all heard an earful on the FY23 budget and are probably working through it yourselves. The council member, just for your information, voted no on this year's adopted budget. Our office received 850 emails, dozens of calls, and folks talking to her in person advocating against the budget cuts to schools. This obviously informed her decision. All but 2 schools in District 38 were cut. In some cases, funding was cut up to 59%. We did make some progress on transparency, including having the PD report more than one item of appropriation. We also saw the mayor allocate 100% of public housing investments in RAD conversions. This was a NYCHA public housing issue. This investment we felt is not data driven. There's many issues around resident engagement. And we'll continue advocating for the items we were elected to push forward, which includes fully funded schools, affordable housing, and real public safety. And then just wanted to inform you all that our office has been doing Free Book Fridays. Maybe you've heard about it already. So our office is located at 4417 4th Avenue. On Friday afternoons in the summertime, kids can stop by and pick up a free book between the hours of 2:30 and 5:30. But actually, it's been so successful, and we've gotten so many donations from the community that starting next week, it's going to be a full day on all Fridays throughout the summer. So 9:30 to 5:30. Your kids can stop by and pick up some summer reading. And we've also got some materials from the Brooklyn Public Library if they wanted to participate in the summer reading program there. And that's it from me. I'm happy to take questions, or I'll drop in my email in the chat and you all can send me an email if you have questions to follow up on. And like I said, I'll just go off camera and be listening in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here, Christina. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate the updates. And we know there's a lot going on, especially with the budget. What can you just share a little more about what's what do you think the next sort of stages of this debate and discussion will be? I know there's still a lot of dialogue about it. There's still,
yeah, it's really difficult. So, as I said, the council member voted no. There was a handful of others who voted no. It feels like, so I think the next step, the mayor, a letter was sent to the mayor on behalf of the full council. It feels, I'm sure all know how this feels. It feels a little bit like we've lost our bargaining chip, right? But the council is pressing hard to force the mayor into negotiations. I think right now they're being stonewalled by the mayor. And I believe that letter went out yesterday. So that was signed, I believe, from the full council, saying you must have a negotiation with us. We weren't aware of the full implications of the cuts. So hopefully this letter moves them to enter into negotiations. And we'll see, I think that different bodies within the council are approaching this from different angles. For example, the Progressive Caucus might want to undertake their own campaign to attempt a new strategy. And certainly I think advocacy from parents would really help. I'm sure you all have put in calls to your council members, but it might be worth, pressuring the mayor's office directly that they must start having these negotiations. And, I think there's some real tangible things on the table that they can do. They just need to be willing to have a conversation about those things.
So it is possible for the budget to be amended, essentially, right? Before, we're in the fiscal year.
Yeah, I think that there's a complex federal funding element to this, right? Which is not necessarily captured in the Schedule C or the mayor's budget or the executive budget. And so I think if pressure can be applied that way on this federal funding piece, I think that's where the real opportunity exists.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about that. I've seen different parties claiming different amounts of federal money are still available. What's your office says, how much is still available?
Yeah, I'll have to find that number for you. I know that number was included in the full body council letter that was sent to the mayor. So I'm happy to actually, if you drop in your email, I'll follow up with you after, and
sure.
I'll see if I could get a copy of that letter for you, but definitely I can get you that number.
Yeah, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Any council members like to ask Ms. Botego? You got it. Close. Any questions?
Thank you, Christina, for being here tonight. I do have a question about, so you had mentioned pressuring the mayor's office. and going through maybe state or federal channels for the money that's still available. Can you just put in the chat some email addresses for us to send letters to? So that like we can also broadcast that to community parents around us, who to talk
Yeah.
to.
I think that's a fantastic idea. So I think early in this conversation, before the budget had passed, we were asking parents to call a number, and we had a very specific number for them to call. I think that dynamic has changed. That calling opportunity may or may not be there, but email addresses I don't have offhand, but maybe what I can do, Steve, would it be most appropriate to get those email addresses to you?
We have
Okay.
all those. Elected officials are, we can get that. If we need any help, we'll reach out. But
yeah, and I could talk to folks in my office and see who they think, in the mayor's office might be the best place to send those advocacy emails, and whether we are using the same number that we were pushing out at the start of the budget process.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate, I think, grassroots, right? I think the more pressure we can bring to bear from parents and community is going to be critical.
Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
Superintendent Preto?
Hi, good evening, everybody. How are we doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
It feels like it's been a while.
I know. It's been a month.
Feels like longer. I don't know why. Something about the end of the school year and the summer, but
Yeah, for sure. But it's good to be with everybody still and again. So I'm happy to give my monthly report. So it's good to be with everybody and happy summer. I'll just report on a few things and then definitely obviously open it up to questions as usual. So we're currently in the midst of summarizing. Summarizing got off to a start. We do have 20 sites across the districts. We have upwards of 6,000 children enrolled that are district students in our schools, and we also have about 1,600 District 20 students who are attending Summer Rising sites outside of the district. So we have a good number of children attending Summer Rising this summer. And I know that one of the big pieces of feedback that the DOE got regarding Summer Rising was the high demand. So something that we've already been communicating to Central that has been communicated very loud and clear was around the availability. So we're making sure that the programs are operating functionally, that children have all the supplies and resources that they need, and that the schedule is being adhered to for the morning, the mid-afternoon, and the evening drop-offs. So, but in general, we've had a generally smooth opening. And I'm happy about that, and I appreciate all the work that the principals in charge, as well as their cooperating principals, assistant principals at every site, and all the teaching staff, paraprofessionals are doing to support all of our young people. I just want to follow up on a couple of pieces that we had spoken about in June and in May regarding potential district initiatives that we're going to be jumping into for the 22-23 year. So I'll start with Civics for All. So Civics for All is a citywide program that has historically operated along the lines of the Social Studies Department. We have made a decision as a district to move ahead to have a district-wide partnership with the Civics for All office of the DOE. And a couple of pieces to highlight within the Civics for All initiative are two student-facing programs, one called Soapbox NYC and another that is directly related to students being engaged in a participatory budgeting process. So the Soapbox NYC is a speaking platform where students engage in the development of what are called soapbox speeches that are developed along topics that are of interest to the student and the local community, developing the speeches and delivering the speeches. It's something that all children will be engaging in this year, and also has a platform for children to also move ahead and engage in soapbox speeches in competition or partnership in the same forum as children across the city, as well as children outside the city. So we're really excited about, embarking on Soapbox NYC, and more to come. It's something that we really feel in the district aligns with the work that we've been doing around lifting student voice, around advanced literacies, and really highlighting the importance of using talk and speeches to build language and knowledge, and really to build up the agency and the identity of our children. So a platform for all children to be able to do this. So we're really excited about the Soapbox NYC component. And then the participatory budgeting component is something else that we're very excited about. Within the Civics for All initiative, children are at the school level are able to work with their peers, with their school communities, to be able to identify areas to invest funds, actual funds, in the school community. And we've had a couple of schools engaged in that process this year. It's very aligned and similar to participatory budgeting process that happens with city council and their capital funding process, where children operate with a small budget and are able to utilize the participatory budgeting process to decide on how those funds are allocated within their own school communities. So we're really excited about that, and we're looking forward to being able to not just keep the community and the council updated on that process, but also be able to have students come on and kind of speak about how that process has gone. So two things I definitely wanted to highlight that were things to be expected in the 22-23 school year. Something else that I would like to kind of give an update on is obviously Steve and Maya, the council has been really interested in exploring the establishment of math science Olympiads in the district, engaging children in competitions related to math and science. There are organizations around the state and the country that engage in this. We feel at the district it's a great idea, and we do have schools that have already engaged in these type of activities and opportunities in the past. So we have made initial outreach to the Math Olympiad organization. So Mathematical Olympiads is who we've reached out to so far. We're also planning later in the week to make sure that we make outreach to the Science Olympiads to explore district partnership and being able to establish math and science Olympiads in the district. And we think that it's definitely in line with some of the work that we're looking to do to engage students in the district in more opportunities that highlight their talents and skill in math, science, and then obviously in literacy. Soapbox NYC is one piece that we're establishing district-wide, and we're also exploring the opportunity to establish a competitive debate across the district. So more to come on that, but we're definitely in the process of establishing the foundation, and with regard to the math and science Olympiads, establishing the ground, kind of foundational relationships with the organizations to see at the district level how we can ensure that this type of thing can happen at the district, so that we can, effectively engage all the schools in this and make sure that they have the resources, the background, the information that they need in order to get rolling in the early fall. And then I want to just be able to speak briefly about my reappointment and the implications that Chancellor Banks and the mayor have set for the superintendent role in the DOE and as superintendent District 20. So one was the establishment of a listening and learning tour. And I have been the superintendent in District 20 since February 2021. However, I am working on looking at the established structures that I already have in place for soliciting community input and feedback, including with the council and other, parent and community organizations, and looking about how I can make additions to those to ensure that I'm continuously soliciting, feedback from the community, ensuring that the topics that are top of mind for the community as well as in the future are at the focal point of, of my attention and then the planning of the district. So I don't have anything firm and added to yet, and I'm definitely happy to listen to ideas and feedback around how those things could be, added to and enhanced. But definitely working on those pieces in my early stages of the reappointment in the role. There's been a lot of talk in the reappointment process around the expansion of district teams, and I will be introducing, once the team has been expanded, it has not, that transaction and process has not completed yet. We're hoping that that process is complete by August, but more to come on that. It's still in process, but when that is in place, I will definitely be introducing to the council any and all members who come onto the District 20 team, so you're aware of who's on the team, what roles they play, and how that structure will look moving forward for all of our schools. And then finally, just immediately in this part of the summer, obviously, and I appreciate Christina from Councilmember Aviles' office coming on and discussing the budget. From the district level in my office, we are really making sure to be supporting principals with the budgeting process as it currently exists, including ensuring that they're being able to maximize their budget, address their staffing issues and how their staffing is related to the budgeting process, and then also how it's affected by enrollment trends, and looking at coming out of our first year that was, I guess, in some ways post-pandemic, in that we were all in school full-time 5 days a week. However, we're still considerably impacted by the pandemic, and we're really looking to see how in the fall and this coming year how enrollment trends are rolling out, and seeing how that gives us a window into the future for our schools, as well as looking at schools' comprehensive educational plans, or CEPs, looking at their initial goals and looking at how those goals are going to be juxtaposed against any data that will be coming later in the summer, including New York State exams in ELA and math, which is the first time we've taken them since, as an entire district, since 2018-19. And then obviously when the Learning Environment Survey is released, and able to utilize those data points with schools as well, to be able to look at how they match up to the goals at the school level, and how they obviously also inform goals for the district, which we would be looking at with the district leadership team, and looking at that in the summer once those pieces are released. So those are the big pieces that I wanted to just kind of highlight today, and I'm as always happy to take any questions or comments from the council today.
Thanks, David. What can you tell us? I mean, I remember a year ago, actually it wasn't a year ago, 6 or 7 months ago, when the new administration came in, there was talk about the enrollment declines across the city. And I remember, Office of Enrollment saying they were going to start looking at that, and never heard back from that. And, what do you know about what's going on in District 20? Why, or how permanent do you think the enrollment losses are? Why do you think people are leaving the district?
I'm not sure. It's a great question. I'm not sure. In terms of being able to have a sense of what the impact is, we won't be able to know that until late October, when we have children actually get into the schools, when kindergarten children arrive, when we all kind of get back. So from that perspective, we'll be able to have a sense in late October, early November, what exactly the impact is on this school year. Right. I think that there's a lot of things that come into play for the impact on enrollment. And, as a short answer, I'm not sure. We've got a lot of different factors that are impacting the city, including the pandemic. I think the pandemic had a big impact. And then I think some pieces within the pandemic, particularly, we got a lot of feedback around children leaving schools over the 5-day-a-week issue. Like, that was something that some people have floated anecdotally. So, and then, in terms of families moving out of the district, that's something that has happened prior to the pandemic. That's something that happened during the pandemic, and that will be something that happens after the pandemic. In terms of how those patterns are matched up with people moving into the district is a different story, and that's something that we kind of have to wait and see about how that happens, and see if the trends of families moving out of the district to other parts of the city, to other parts of the state and New Jersey and other places are matched up with people moving back into the district, and seeing how that lands in our schools. So I think that those are some of the kind of high level pieces that impact the specifically in District 20, the enrollment trends, but we won't be able to see how this particular year impacts until late October, early November.
Right. No, I understand that. Is, one thing I didn't hear you mention is, the changes that have been made to some of the, academically advanced programs in the city, the gifted and talented program, screening at middle schools, at high schools, the changes that have been made to those. I can tell you anecdotally, that's a factor. And I can tell you multiple parents firsthand that have left the system because of those changes. Is that at least on the radar as well in terms of the thinking that you're doing?
Absolutely. We have given ourselves from the district level the feedback that we've gotten from our own community. The admissions processes, as well as gifted and talented, was definitely from District 20 community parents a factor that was very clearly communicated to me, and also clearly communicated to Central and to enrollment. As far as the impact of those pieces on enrollment trends, that's something that I can't directly connect those things to enrollment decline. But in terms of the concern and thinking that that's one of the patterns, that's absolutely something that is on my mind, as well as on the mind of Central, and in terms of enrollment. And that's something that is being discussed, and also looking to I know the enrollment office is looking for, and I'm too looking for, continuous feedback for how that process has landed for families. I know that families are still going through the process of admissions, particularly to high school. The high school admissions process has been a particularly fraught one for some families, and that's not something that is escaped my attention or the chancellor's attention. So that is something, and as we go through the summer, making sure that those things get resolved is something that most immediately we want to make sure that we're able to support parents with. And then also how that going into the fall, I know that this is going to be a conversation that we have going into the fall and the winter about what the impact of that feedback and that experience with these admissions processes have on how those things look in the future.
Who is the sort of the point person in your office for questions about the wait lists?
It's going to be Bill Chin.
Okay.
He's going to be able to most directly support and direct family concerns around wait lists, and also Sylvia Jasinski. So Bill and Sylvia are going to be the two.
Okay. Yona, go ahead. I see you have your hand up.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so I will go back to the summarizing because I will not let that topic go, because I do believe that it brought a lot of frustration. Steve, as you know, I did prepare quite a big summary of the concerns, and I would really like if Superintendent Preto can tell me if there is anybody who is working on coming up with a better system, maybe for the next summarizing, because a lot of parents in our district were left without a spot for their children, and that has definitely impacted especially the parents with more than one child, and especially working parents like myself. And the second question and topic I want to bring up is that students with IEP have received a letter stating summer recovery services. And in those letters, there was a reference to a survey that would be sent to the parents. Some parents did receive a survey, some did not. And there's no follow-up on that, and it's mid-July. So if there were to be given out recovery services, when are they going to be, and what's up with that? Thank you.
So, Giona, just on the second, I heard loud and clear the question about plans for summarizing for next year. With regard to the the recovery services, I just want to make sure I'm clear. You're referring to the special education recovery services that were being offered to individual students based off of them not being provided services during the pandemic and remote learning. Am I right?
Okay. For example, my son was evaluated for speech and he finished his pre-K. He never got any sessions at all because of how backed up the services were and all of that good stuff. So I was told that I was going to be able to get some kind of a service over the summer. And the letter sent a survey. I filled out the survey. The locations were places, you know, like Bronx and I don't know, Jamaica, Queens. So there was no option for Brooklyn, but there was no follow-up either when you press other. So these were letters sent out to children that had an IEP.
This year?
This year, yes.
Okay.
Right, meaning 2021, 2022.
Got it. And I just for clarity, like this is something that Bill Chin or Sylvia can support you or any family with immediately, so we can connect you with either our administrator for special education or with the office that makes sure that those services get administered. So I just want to say that Bill or Sylvia can support you or any other family with this issue tomorrow.
Okay, great. And I'll reach out to them if I don't hear anything back this week. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and you just reach out to them tomorrow anyway. And if there's any other family that's in the same position, please encourage them to do the same, so that we can. We're already July 13th. I don't want anybody waiting any longer if this hasn't been resolved. And okay, so they can help you get it sorted out tomorrow. At least make sure that we know what the plan is.
Sure, I'll reach out to them.
Great. No problem. And then as far as summarizing, so we are currently what we're focused on is just making sure that our existing summarizing plan is being implemented and executed smoothly. Moving forward, the feedback, particularly around the number of seats that were available, and that being juxtaposed against the demand. There was high demand. Moving forward, that feedback has definitely been received. We have definitely provided that to the central office and the summer team. So we will see when the plan is looked at for next year, what the impact of that's going to be. I don't have an answer for you. I don't know what it is going to be, but I do know, and I can assure you, I personally have given this feedback, but it's not just our district, many districts across. It's been provided.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt you and keep mentioning this over and over again, but I think the issue is even larger than the fact that there were no spots for our kids. I think even the application process itself was also problematic. And I can actually resend you the summary where you can see all those other details that, I would really like to be in touch with somebody that, has been working on coming up with a program, because I think it's important that whoever works on this stuff gets some parents' feedback. Thank you so much.
You got it. When an opportunity besides myself, and again, providing me with the feedback is like it's going straight to the top if it's coming to me. However, if and when there are community sessions, I may be holding them, or the summer team may be holding them to get parent feedback on the application process itself. We'll make them, but you can tell me right now, and I will. I'll take it down and make sure that it, gets to the folks who are putting this in place. What I do know about the application process that happened this year and the intent behind it was to allow parents to be able to directly apply to programs that were close to where they were going to be. So when parents went on, they were able to apply to any program in the city, and I think that was done to the intent behind that was to help parents who were in different circumstances across the city, and allowing them to, wherever they were in the city, to be able to apply to the program that was closest to them. However, what we did see in this city was the available seats went that first day, or the grand majority of them. So, with that being said, I think that part of it is definitely going to be looked at against what the city is going to be committing in terms of funding for the program. Is there anything additional about the application process that you think is really important for me and the city to know about the summarizing application process?
I don't want to use up all your available time tonight, but I will send you later on. I will send you the email, and I do give some examples of the situations that I took from all our parent representatives in District 20, as well as from the community. So I'll actually send that email to you tonight, and because I do outline like different aspects of it, such as, some people were not even aware that you could just put in your zip code and get the school available instead of waiting for your school to pop up.
Got it.
No seats. Like, this is such a basic thing, but that was nowhere to be found. And yes, the seats were not just taken within the first day, they were taken literally within hours. And what was left when, for example, I logged in at 11 o'clock, and because that's when I was able to, take a break from work. And I was given options that there were not walking distance options that would require me to take more than one bus. And because I do work, though, it was physically impossible for me to be able to drop off my son and to come back in a timely manner. So there were like some basic things that I think if they were explained or advertised properly, and I did feel that it was misleading to tell that you have this much time. Like, there was not enough communication. And if a parent like myself that has been involved in meetings and reads all her emails, if I did not get the right impression, you can only imagine what other parents might feel like right now. So I will send you that email in detail, and I guess we can discuss this further. Thank you so much, though, for not disregarding this issue. I appreciate it.
No problem. And I hear you loud and clear in terms of the overall feeling that parents didn't feel like the availability of seats was like how much capacity that the program had was communicated. So I think that was something that is, moving forward, is going to be important for folks to have a strong understanding of prior to the application process. I hear you loud and clear.
Elizabeth.
Yes, I also wanted to ask 2 questions, because like spots for middle schools, when they open up, they actually have it on the summarizing website. How will we know, or any parent will know, if any spots open? Because we still got like more than 3 weeks left of summarizing. So if there's any elementary spots, how could parents find out if there's any openings?
At this point, there's no method or system for notifying parents of open seats. Our programs are full. Like, we have children, the available seats in our programs are full. We've got over 6,000 kids in our sites.
Saying, because like sometimes like students might drop out at the last 3 weeks or the last 2 weeks. Like, is there a process where you could tell like some of the elementaries to post it on their elementary board, so like parents that still want to do it for the last 2 or 3 weeks of summer, they could apply for those?
The only way that we could do something like that is you'd have to inquire at the particular school, and here's why. The only way that we would know that a seat is available is if a child, literally disenrolls from the program, notifies the school that I'm not coming to the program anymore, and I'm going to disenroll my child. And that's something that we don't have a system for communicating out on a large scale to folks and to be able to do. There would only be a way to, check with the school almost on a daily basis of whether or not that's something that has happened.
Because I remember one of the rules and regulation was like, if the kid doesn't show up within 5 straight days, that they will be disenrolled. So with that opportunity, shouldn't like the principal like put that spot open for other kids in the community?
It's at the discretion of the principal. The principal,
Okay.
if there's a seat available, they could, if they can, enroll the child.
Oh, so maybe you should tell like certain schools just to put it on their website if there's an opening. Possibly that will work, because summarizing is really the only open spots that they have are for 6th to 8th grader, the middle schools.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm just saying maybe that's something we could do now currently for people, elementary parents that wants their kids to go to school.
I will look into it with the elementary principals. I do know that I have not been notified of seats being made available. So I will communicate with the principals and see if there is a system somewhat to what you're suggesting around advertising seats if and when they open up.
Yeah, especially if the students aren't showing up like within 5 days. So then just, let that seat open up for another student that might be waiting. And also the second question is like, do you know any update and changes to the middle school admissions process? Because a lot of parents and students are telling me that they did not get into any of their top 3 choices, which they were upset about.
We've gotten a lot of feedback about both the middle school process and the high school process around children not getting their first choice, top 3 choices, in some cases, any of their choices. That's more for the high school process. So in terms of any adjustments to the process, none have been made. We're still in the midst of the existing current process. That feedback has definitely gotten to Central, Chancellor Banks, the Office of Enrollment, and the Office of Enrollment has been planning feedback sessions for the community to provide, obviously their feedback around the process for any potential adjustments moving forward. There are no plans to change the existing process. The process has been set for this year, and we're in the midst of it. But moving forward, looking into the process for the 23-24 school year, the next year, any feedback that would be provided to the Office of Enrollment, obviously you provide me with feedback. I would be communicating it directly with them. I know that this will be a topic of conversation, not just in District 20, but across the city. There has been a lot of feedback about both admissions processes, middle school and high school.
Because I just wanted to let you know what a salutatorian of 205 told me. He was like, he worked so hard to become salutatorian. So he was just upset that he could not get into any of his top choices. And then he just was able to get into Shallow, which I think is a good school, but he was just upset that he worked so hard and he's like the top 2 student and he couldn't get into his choice school. Just to, have feedback from you from a student.
No, I appreciate that, and I'm hearing this isn't the only story that I've heard around a child who wanted to go to a particular school and was not able to through the existing process.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. But definitely, this is going to be a topic of conversation that we'll engage in, beginning into next year. And then moving forward, not just with my office, but also with the Office of Enrollment. So I'll make sure that is something, I know that is something that is top of mind for the council, for the community, and for me as your superintendent. So we will be continuing to discuss this and be very clear about what the experience has been for children and for families, and be able to inform the process moving forward.
Okay, great. Thank you.
No problem.
Jen, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Before I begin, Dr. Preto, thank you for attending and congratulations on continuing your work with us. My question is, I'm wondering if it's possible for you to ask the DOE when they're figuring out these processes going forward for summarizing as well as middle school applications and high school applications, since there's a myriad of problems. If they could possibly be more proactive in engaging parent feedback and community outreach, not just getting the process down, but also during the technical aspects like user acceptance testing. It's really important that when they do user interface testing, that they involve at least a few parents from the community so that they can get the end user experience feedback, which I think is a lot of times I just feel like it's lacking. If you could just sort of bring that feedback up, I think that might be quite helpful for them to do.
Jen, thank you so much for that. So I just want to make sure I hear you right. So specifically with short answer is yes. You know, in terms of like making sure that parents and the community are connected to opportunities to give feedback around summarizing and the admissions process, the answer is absolutely yes. And I imagine moving forward, I'll be, very directly linked with those conversations. So, I will be making sure and advocating that, your voices are being heard on this, and definitely encourage everybody to be as very clear and specific and blunt, like you're being, as possible. If I hear you specifically about the user interface, I hear you saying, having a few parents be able to kind of like, test a beta version of the application that parents use to enroll and be able to give feedback on it before it goes live. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like maybe ask for volunteers to do that before it goes live.
It's a great
so
idea.
that you can get as many parents as possible from anybody who has time to just go through the system to give, user interface feedback, but it has to be done in advance so that there's time to make any changes like to the system, to the interface before it goes live. Otherwise, it's useless to even bother with the testing, right?
I think that's a great idea. I will absolutely provide that to the summarizing team immediately, and then we'll want to make sure that we loop back to that idea when in the fall, once the program has finished and they start having at the central level conversations around what summarizing may look like for the following year. Like this year was a little bit different than the first year, right? Like the first year we had a rather more open enrollment process. This year with a different enrollment, method. In the first year it was more being monitored and managed by DYCD, whereas this year the DOE was managing the enrollment process, and parents were able to directly enroll through a DOE application with a deadline rather than no deadline the first time. So, moving forward, whatever kind of adjustments, we'll see what those are. But I absolutely will provide this feedback and make sure that it gets in the hands immediately, as well as more at the time when they're starting to think about what the plans are for the future.
Thank you.
You got it.
Joyce and Vito, but I don't know who was first. So
ahead.
Joyce, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Joyce. Hi, Dr. Perdo. I have a question also about the summarizing program, because I think the summarizing program offer the school bus. So how can the student enroll in the school bus? Isn't it will automatic if they have a school bus before?
Hi, Joyce. How you doing? I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly, specifically around busing for summarizing. We do have children who are being bused to the program. What about the busing concern? What about the busing is the question? So just so I hear it correctly.
I said, how can the student enroll in a school bus program? Because, for example, I have kids in a school program, but I never submit any application. I received a notice, but the situation is I received a notice from my kids' school, but they didn't have the school bus needs from the summer riding school side?
So most children who were programmed for busing for Summer Rising were programmed in towards the end of May after the application process closed. And one of the big reasons why the application process needed to close earlier rather than later was in general for overall planning. And one of the big pieces of planning for Summer Rising was be able to work with the bus companies to be able to create routes and busing for the children who were eligible and could be routed for a bus. That has to it takes upwards of a month, sometimes more, to develop the bus routes, and that was how it happened. It happened directly with the enrollment process.
So it's
But anybody who, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the last piece was anybody who was placed into Summer Rising after that wasn't going to be able to be placed on a bus route.
Okay, but the other question is, isn't the school bus from the Summer Rising is a DOE we are sending the school needs to the Summer Rising's pro-side school?
Long story short, it depends, but the answer is yes. So the children who are eligible to be able to ride on a bus to Summer Rising were routed for those buses after the application for Summer Rising closed.
But I feel because the school side for Summer Rising school, they didn't have the school needs from the student. So I feel it's unsafety for the kids because you don't know how many kids it will coming from the school bus. And the school doesn't know how many kids will come from the school bus either. Because so far I heard about they don't have no school bus needs.
Is there a way for us to either talk more specifically offline about either like your child or a group of kids or a school? Because I can have my team work with the central office wherever it is. They're like within the busing for Summer Rising is a challenge for a couple of reasons, and I just want to make sure I know what the specific need is so that I can address it. There's 2 pickup times. There's some children who are on bus routes from their school, but they're attending a different site. Like there's a few things in there that I just want to make sure I can we set up a time to talk about it so I can be able to work through it and connect you with my team to address any issues?
Yeah, exactly. Because I seen the Summer Rising program with an DOE. They have maybe mixed communication. So I feel if they can communicate more, because student will more safety. If the school have before the Summer Rising program start, right? If school have the school bus student needs, then feel more safety. How many students will come from the school bus? How many students? Because school bus kids dismissal period is different from the normal student.
So can you? I have your email. I want to be able to connect you with Sean McLean from my office, who is from my office is the coordinator for all of the busing with OPT, so that he can kind of like work through whatever specific issues there are that you're raising with busing, so that if there is a specific issue with a child that can be resolved, and then also like be able to talk through some of the technical points with busing, so that if there's something that we can kind of forecast similar to what Jen was talking about earlier about informing the future and being able to be very transparent with parents about what to expect with regard to busing in Summer Rising, that we can make sure that those points are raised. So Joyce, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna email you and Sean from my office to be able to connect and be able to discuss this.
Yeah, thank you. We try to get better Summer Rising program for next year.
I will have Sean and Bill Chin set up a meeting with you to discuss this, to be able to, again, like connect with any specific individuals, but also on some technical feedback for how we can inform the process for busing and summarizing. And they will know the technical background pieces of it that could be adjusted, and there may be some pieces that are, long story short, they're the technical experts in this topic.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it. I'll send that email out tonight to have them connect with you.
Any more questions for David?
Yep. Steve?
Yeah, go ahead, Vito. Yep.
Hey, Superintendent, congratulations, and thank you for taking time out for your summer night. You familiar with the class size matters bill that the legislature passed, sir?
I have, yes. I'm familiar with it. Yes.
So the mayor and the chancellor have both come out against it. Can you speak to the ramifications on our district if that bill were to become law?
If I understand the ramifications of the bill correctly, it would call upon the state to provide funding and the city to fund seats in schools in a manner that applies to the further constraints on the size of classes. So I'm not a city budget manager, but what I would imagine the implications would be funding for schools. I would imagine that funding for schools would be impacted. What impact that would have would really come down to what the actual pieces in the bill, kind of what the, how do I say this? Like what the ramifications of the bill would have for how the city allocated funding in the school budget. And that would be for our schools in District 20 and any other schools. I'm trying to think about how the impact would be any different for our schools in District 20 from that level, from like a, from a state bill or state law. I'd have to think about it a little bit more in terms of how it would impact our schools on top of how it would impact any other district in the city. Because it would, from a macro level, it's going to impact the amount of funding that's going to be allocated to schools based off of our fair student funding formula at the city level, and then how the state allocates any state aid to the city as well.
But would it be fair to say that we want to go from, say, 30 kids to 25 kids, 5 fewer kids per class? If you have fewer kids per school, and like you said, each kid comes with a dollar amount attached to his head, an overall school, if they don't increase the number per kid, you're going to have less money per school.
That's one definite piece of the current existing formula that would be impacted. With the fair student funding formula and weights applied to individual children, general ed students, and then and special populations having additional funding attached to them. With less children, the fund, there would be a smaller dollar amount allocated to that school.
And also,
just from that one aspect, yes.
And also, we have a few schools that are really popular. We have some schools that are underpopulated. So another thing would be schools like Diker, that's at 100 and something % capacity, or 201% capacity. They could force those middle school kids into schools that are underpopulated right now.
Can you say more about that? I just want to make sure I understand.
Well, so we have schools that are overpopulated, and if you say that you have fewer kids per that school, they'll even be more overpopulated. I think Diker's at 201%. Now, if they only have to have 25 kids per class, they're going to be at what, 240%, 230%. So that's going to push kids into schools. We talked about today how parents who are rising middle school children didn't get any of their top choices. Now, even fewer parents of middle schools are going to get their top choices because there are going to be fewer seats available.
If the class size, long story short, like if the class sizes are, if they're mandated to be reduced, then yes, the building utilization would also be impacted. So that would definitely be something that would be factored in.
Yeah, and it'd be really difficult to kind of build out these spaces. We're pretty packed. Putting on stories on buildings in New York City, that would not be a logical an option for us.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what we're doing in the district, we have a lot of, not even thinking about class size matters bill, just looking at our building utilization rates in general. One thing that we're really looking to do in the district is, which is I guess for us a good problem, is exploring for the building of new schools. We've got 4 sites coming along the way to be able to alleviate situations like not just 201 or a myriad of our schools that are at over 100% utilization, to be able, because again, when a school is over 100% utilization, it means that space is not being used in the ways for all of the kind of robust programming that can be provided to kids, is not being able to be provided in the ways that the original designers of the building intended them to be. So yes, smaller class sizes would have an additional impact on that, but we're really trying to make sure that we're providing that space for kids, period, across the district.
In the several middle schools that are very underutilized, are there things that you're doing maybe to try to develop programs to make them kinds of magnet schools, to give some, why are they under enrolled? Why are parents not wanting to go there? And things that you and your team can do working with the community to see what we can put into those schools to make them a more of a desirable choice for their child.
Yeah, the enrollment trends in the district is something that is definitely has our attention. In terms of having what you, as you call them, under-enrolled schools, we don't, as of yet, have any officially under-enrolled schools. Again, we're looking at enrollment patterns and looking at late October, early November to see what actual enrollment trends are in our schools. If you're going by building utilization rate, we have had 2 schools that were below 100%. That by itself does not, equal an under-enrolled school. But that being said, we're looking very closely at what building utilization rates are going to be, with this incoming class of kids, to see what impact that has on kind of what Steve was bringing up earlier, the question that he asked earlier in the meeting, like what do the enrollment trends look like in the district, and what implications does that have for our work moving forward? And I think you're bringing up exactly that. Like, once we see, and we're hopefully going to be able to see soon, what that actually looks like in the mid-late fall, what that's going to mean for how we go about doing community outreach, how we look at schools that may need support or other kinds of attention to be able to address any types of enrollment patterns that we find need that type of extra attention or support.
Great, thank you, sir. Thank you, Steve.
David, what are the 2 under-enrolled schools?
Ditmas, IS 62 has not been at 100% utilization. That and the 682, 686 campus have been the two campuses that have not been over 100% utilized. But looking again, right now all we're dealing with are projections and currently enrolled rosters, while also waiting for children to come in for kindergarten classes, for 6th grade classes. So we're going to have to see for the rest of those campuses what that's going to mean for their kind of 100% or over 100% utilization moving forward.
Right. And I'm just curious, back to the class size matters issue. Do you, and I know it varies by school, but do you know roughly the average class size across District 20 for elementary school and middle school?
Well, for kindergarten, you've got the average class size is typically the max. I mean, typically what you're looking at, like, and again, pre-pandemic, you're looking at 30 for elementary, you're looking at 32 for middle school, and 18 for pre-K, 3K, you're at 16. So that's typically what you're looking at. It varies from school. Sometimes you're going to have 29 in the class instead of 32, but you're looking at the upper ends of those limits in all of our schools. So, but again, we're going to be looking at that closely. That's
Just-
something, yeah.
The bill, the language in the bill, I believe, is 32 for elementary school and about the same range for middle school. Isn't that right?
I thought it was 25, Steve.
Was it 25? Okay.
Currently 32 for middle, 30 for elementary is what the current,
And
the current limits are.
And the bill is taking it to 25 for elementary?
I believe so. It's lowering it.
Yeah.
For sure.
That would be the impact, the size of the impact. Our average class in District 20, 32 or so, give or take, down to 25. So pretty significant drop there.
Yes, that would definitely be a significant drop per class if that was something that schools had to adhere to.
Right. And again, if you can't find room, and I mean, there's the issue Vito raised of sort of, I don't want to say forcing, but essentially, creating a system where kids are forced to go to another school that's less populated. But otherwise, what's the solution, or what are the implications for the district? I mean, is there anything in the bill that has any kind of, I mean, aren't there certain cases where districts and schools can get exemptions, get waivers from these requirements?
At this point, any implications would be hypothetical. I could come up with a myriad, right? So I hesitate to jump into them because at the district level, no matter what the implications would be, some of them would impact things that are kind of citywide components and state level components that I can't, as a superintendent, I would have to see what those pieces would be. Like, would there be any impact to fair student funding? Would there be any impact to, state aid? Would there be any impact to, I feel like a lot of hypothetical things. Would there be impact to enrollment patterns? Would there be impact to zoning? Would there be impact to any of these other? There's a lot, there's a lot of things that could potentially be impacted. And before they got to the district, there's a lot of things that could happen.
Yeah, I guess I'm just specifically wondering about this waiver. Like, I'm just not bringing it up right now, but I'm almost certain there's like a waiver for a very broadly defined category, if like sort of extreme, difficulty meeting the class number requirement. And I think that's in the bill. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah, I'm familiar with that possibility being put into the bill.
Right.
I would definitely advocate for that to be I would advocate for that to be put in place for our district. We're already, still going back to the overcrowded nature of our district and so many of our buildings being overutilized and, fighting for space. I would definitely be putting in for any type of relief or waiver so that we would be able to not have any kind of situation that would disrupt the quality of education in the district.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking here. It confirmed. The bill allows temporary exemptions for schools that cannot make the reductions based on space enrollment, teacher shortages, et cetera. But I don't know the more specific language. And again, how difficult it is to make the case that we can't meet the requirement. We've done everything we can. And I would just hope it doesn't result in, again, for elementary school, everyone wants their kid to attend the neighborhood elementary school if they can. You don't want to be shipping your kid across a district as large as District 20s just to meet a numbers requirement on class size.
Currently, this has not been an issue or topic that has been brought to my attention at all in terms of anything I need to be thinking about or forecasting for or planning for. So if and when that does happen, I will definitely let the community know. But currently, it's not something that we're kind of anticipating or forecasting for in a district.
Yeah, if the mayor signs it, or I'm sorry, the governor.
Right.
And it would take effect next year. Oh no, it gets phased in, right?
That's right.
Okay. Any other questions?
If it gets signed.
Yeah, if it gets, the big if, right? And in what final form is it? Any other questions for David? Good job. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening, and I'll still be here.
I'm going to share. Yeah, I'm going to share some of the high school data. You know, I've had a bunch of meetings with enrollment on this, and I just want to share some of that, and for the council's benefit and any parents who are on. Let me try and share my screen. I have it pulled up. Yes. Sharing screen. So this is all from the Office of Enrollment, and these are like the numbers about District 20. And this is just for high school, and I've asked them for middle school, and they're going to provide that, but it'll take a little while. But for high school, and I shared this with everyone by email, but just making sure we see District 20's numbers. This shows the percent of high school applicants who got their top 3, their top 5, their top 10, and their top 12 choices. And then at the end, it shows, once you include the specialized high schools, what those numbers are. Hey guys, do that later, okay? Not right now. And so the top bar section is showing the city compared to District 20. And you can see, for example, across the city, 74% of kids got their top 3, on the way down to 93% got their top 12. So 7% of kids citywide did not get a top 12 high school choice. And just for anyone who doesn't know this, the Office of Enrollment has a fairly complicated multi-step logic to assign schools to the 7%. And I actually have all the detail if anyone wants it, but it's loosely speaking, it's based on sort of proximity to where you live. It's based on the schools, the options that are available, and the performance of those schools in terms of academic quality. It's based on indications of interest in your top 12 rankings. So they'll look at your top 12 and they'll try and match you up with something that might kind of be similar to your top 12 rankings. That's a very loose description of how the top 7, that's how the 7% get matched up. And so anyway, what did stick out to me was, of course, looking at District 20 and how from last year, you could see the section fall of 2021 to fall of 2022. You know, this year, District 20 kids, 67% of them got their top 3. Last year, we had 73%. And that was very much in line with the city last year. And this year, we're notably below the city. And so, of course, I'm interested in this. And, David, follow up. I'm going to follow up with enrollment. And I want to make this aware, because certainly it matches what I've heard. It matches things like Elizabeth was speaking to earlier about especially the top 3 and top 5 buckets. It looks like our kids really didn't do as well this year as they did last year. You can see last year we got a sort of closer to the city averages on all that. This was interesting. The city also, the Office of Enrollment provided by race and ethnicity and by free and reduced lunch status. And it does jump out here, Asian students much lower on the top 3 acceptance rate, and then lower on the top 5 acceptance rate, 68%. The theory that I think makes sense, and I've talked to others about this and it makes sense, is if you're applying to a smaller number of schools, is naturally more competitive. And I don't know, none of it, the Office of Enrollment would have to provide the numbers of all these kids and where they're applying to. And, if our Asian students are applying to schools that are just more in demand and whatnot, then you're gonna have a lower percentage. But I don't think that means we shouldn't be concerned. I think it means we should do more outreach, because what it means to me is we're gonna have one community in District 20 that's, generally speaking, more unhappy about their school placements. And so this is really powerful, I think, especially coming from Elizabeth's comment. That's sort of the anecdotal, and now here's the data evidence that perhaps there's a community in District 20 that is, on the margins a little more unhappy with the process as it's working right now.
Steve?
Yes.
Are there the breakdowns by race and ethnicity from last year as well?
There were not, but I can ask. But the numbers I have from last year, I can, at the citywide level, yes. And at the citywide level, this is similar. Well, wait, was that last year? Or was that was this year? You can see my note here, add citywide numbers, question mark, or just verbally compare. I can tell you verbally, the citywide level, it's very similar. I think Asian students got into 58%. of their top 3 city.
But for our specific district, you don't have
Last
last
year,
year's
I don't
numbers
have.
compared to
No.
this year's numbers.
They didn't share this data on the data they shared a few months ago on last year. They didn't share breakdown by race, ethnicity.
Okay.
But I can certainly
So we don't know if the numbers actually went down this year.
right.
Okay.
I'm mostly looking at how it stands out compared to the other 3 communities.
Right.
Pretty-
Okay.
And you would really have to go back 2 years, I think, because last year was a lottery as well. So you probably have to go back to the 2019.
Yeah, it'd be
year.
great to see.
Right. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great to see. So, and this is interesting too. I thought, free and reduced lunch students citywide, 74% get their top 3. In District 20, 68% do. So again, this is sort of like just very high level stuff, and I'm hesitant to make any firm conclusions from this, but it does indicate, there's a portion of the community in our district that perhaps, will be a little disappointed with the results this year. And is there anything we can do about that and sort of reach out? And I think we all have, there's all different ways we can take this. Just a couple other comments on the process. Like I said, I've had there's a ton of back and forth with enrollment. Let me just pull up my notes on this. The wait list is a big one. And just so anyone is getting questions about this, if you're on the wait list and you're in a school that has an academic screen, your lottery number determines your place on the wait list. So if you had a bad lottery number for application, you're going to have a bad lottery number on the position on the wait list, unfortunately. At non-screened schools, you'll get a new lottery number. And so the whole process starts over. I put something on the website, and anyone who wants to refer a parent here, I'll share my screen again in a second, but this is great because it's a tool that you can use to see, the lottery number is like the 16 digit hexadecimal thing, and it's pretty hard to understand, but this is a very quick, easy way of understanding if your lottery number is good or bad. And I'm just going to pull that up right here. This is now linked on our website. This is it's a very rudimentary site, as you can see, but it does the trick. The math is accurate. I've double checked it against some other sites. And you just enter the first 2 characters of your lottery number, and it's always a letter or a number. So for example, I don't know how many people know this, but the lower your numbers are, the better. So if your lottery number starts with like 1 or 2, 0, 1 or 2, that's good. And if it starts with a higher number, I think it goes up to 9, that's bad. So for example, if I just type in 2E, this should be pretty good. And you type it in and it says, it explains the number in fairly common sense terms. 2E is toward the 18th percentile, where like the first percentile is the best. And this is considered a good number. And then you can go back and pretty easily, if I just reversed it and went high, like 9E, for example, it shows the higher numbers are worse, 62nd percentile, considered a so-so number. So anyway, that's the gist of this site, and that's the gist of the lottery numbers. And I know a lot of parents don't fully understand what the lottery number means and how they get assigned to schools and how the wait lists work. But that's part of the calculation there. And so that's up on the website on our website under admissions information. The other thing I just wanted to mention, the DOE, the Office of Enrollment, has offered to answer, any questions parents have who are on wait lists and have questions about it. There've been a myriad that I've heard, things like, why is the wait list moving when my kid's position is changing? Wait lists can still change if students in a higher priority group add themselves. There's also some issues about wait lists for audition schools, and the DOE has actually fixed that. There was previously an issue with students being able to add themselves even if they hadn't applied initially and provided the requisite auditions or the requisite materials. And now the DOE has pushed those students to the end of the wait list. There's a couple of other recommendations, interesting things, just going back to the points about how the system might change going forward, things that I think are really good ideas. like disclosing the number of waitlist seats offered at each school. My understanding is it's up to the schools how many waitlist seats they want to offer. And the DOE has said they would consider publishing that information next year so parents know what their chances are of getting into a school off the wait list. So there's a whole variety of issues like this. And, I encourage any parents who have issues, please reach out to us. I'm also going to put the enrollment email in the chat because the Office of Enrollment has said that they would be happy to take questions by this. But please, if anyone, if you don't get answers from the email, please reach out to us because we're in contact. So there's the enrollment contact information. And that was all I wanted to update on today, since it's such an important topic. Like I said, I've requested the middle school data, and the high school data is available online now. And we can share a link for that, actually. We'll post that on our website as well. So that's all I have. Yeah, I guess the only other thing I would mention is we're waiting and seeing on the mayoral control bill. That's now January 15th to take effect. Ongoing changes to that potentially underway. And I think as a CEC, it may make sense for us to come up with some kind of position. We've already put out a couple of resolutions on it, and it may make sense for us to refine our position on that and sort of try and do some outreach on that one as well, because I think that's really important for how that takes shape. One thing in particular, I'm going to say right here, just so everyone, the idea to add a 12th member to CECs is ridiculous, and you'll end up with 6 to 6 votes. You'll never be able to get anything done. So that's one thing that I'd like to reiterate as we continue to advocate for this going forward. I think we will, that concludes my report. We were going to, I think, briefly just go over the liaison school assignments. This is a procedure that gets done at the start of the term, and unless anyone disagrees strongly, I think we can continue with the liaison assignments as is. Does everyone agree with that?
Agreed.
All good?
Yep.
And I will just share the screen just so if there's any, let me just pull up my site. Actually, everyone knows. I think we have a small meeting tonight. Everyone understands where to find your assignment. It's online, it's on the shared drive, and parents especially should go to online to see what their liaison school is. And again, we should definitely, reinitiate this. I know liaison work is hard, it's time consuming, but I really encourage it. And David's very helpful as always on connecting us when we can't get the connections done ourselves. But if everyone could just, try and make an effort and get, a call in with a school or two, that would be great. Vito, do you still have the agenda?
I do. Well,
If you can just read the next, I think we're more or less up to Jen's point, right? I don't know that we need to have a budget discussion. Budget was on there. But I would just ask everyone be considering for the next month's meeting, the DOE always provides the budgets a month or two into the year. And so we'll just wait and see when the budget comes out and then talk about it and finalize it in August.
You don't need me to find the agenda?
You're good. Jen, floor is yours.
Hey, all right, I'm going to try and share my screen. Doesn't seem to be.
It's hard to find the one screen you want, I know.
Okay, let me try it again. Sorry, this is not working out. Screen.
I was muted. Jen, I can pull up the bylaws right now if you need.
Yes, please do that.
Yep, here we go. Okay.
Okay, so if we can scroll down to the first grayed out area, just an overview, I pretty much, I got a template from FACE. So there were some reordering of things and streamlining the table of contents so that everything sort of matches up. And I made some edits. So the first thing that's different than our old bylaws is the part under the recording secretary. So I think for ours, it doesn't have more expansive duties, but in the template, they added this part: in the absence of the administrative assistants, the recording secretary shall be responsible for taking minutes. She or he shall assume the duties of the president in the temporary absence of the president, the first vice president, and the second vice president. The recording secretary shall also discharge such functions as may be assigned to him or her by the president or by duly adopted council resolution. So basically there's like a handoff of responsibilities should the people before the recording secretary cannot fulfill their duties. It will fall on Vito in this case. So that's the first change. And the second one is under treasurer, where it wasn't really, I didn't find it too explicit in our bylaws the way it was currently written, but the grade part reads, the treasurer shall sign the president's reimbursement requests, which we know is already the case, supervise the administrative assistant in preparing budgets and regular financial reports, and shall present same to the council for approval. The treasurer shall also discharge such functions as may be assigned to him or her by the president or by duly adopted council resolution. So again, this is not new, but it wasn't really, I guess, well written in our bylaws. So this was the part that was a little different. And if we go down to the next grade part, yeah, we'll go up. Yeah, there we go. All meetings shall be held in facilities accessible to the disabled. I remember there was a question about this in the past, or at least a discussion, because not all the schools that we hold meetings in are accessible to the disabled. Ideally, this would be kept there, but I am open to discussing that, with rest of the council, if this becomes an issue with how or when or where we hold our meetings. Guys, I certainly don't want us to be limiting which schools that we go to, but especially since with the hybrid meetings issue, there's going to be equipment questions about the schools that we go and hold our meetings. So if this is going to be an added hardship, we may need to think about whether or not to keep this part in.
Jennifer? I'm not sure if this isn't a legal requirement. I think that it's in there because it's already required of us, and maybe they just put it in there. Maybe we just weren't doing it when we should have been doing it all the time.
Okay, so we'll just leave it in for now.
I mean, Steve, do you agree?
I would need to get more information on it. I'm not sure. I agree with what you're saying, and if it is a legal requirement, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, and I agree with Jen's issue of, I would like to know what percent of schools in District 20 are accessible. Like, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
So if we could go to so this is a topic that we could discuss.
Yeah, we'll work on it over the next month.
So the next part is the big part, is this entire section has been added for the hybrid meetings procedures. So basically we have to adopt a resolution as well as make an adjustment to our bylaws for our video conferencing procedures. So I'm just going to read this really quick. In compliance with the law, the council, following a public hearing, authorized by resolution the use of video conferencing as described in so and so on. The following procedures are hereby established to satisfy the requirement that any public body which is which in its discretion wishes to permit its members to participate in meetings by video conferencing from private locations under extraordinary circumstances must establish written procedures. So this is basically what this is. The spirit of it is that we must meet physically at the location of our meeting that needs to be open to the public, unless there is a extraordinary circumstance. So basically, we can't do what we've been doing, which is, you know, it's not convenient for me to go there, so I'll just do it from home. So that's it has to be an quote unquote extraordinary circumstance. And they list this as disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, or any other significant or unexpected factor or event which precludes the member's physical attendance at such meeting. So the expectation is that you will make every effort to show up physically at the meeting, and that you video conferencing in should be the exception. So if a council member is unable to be physically present, the member must notify the president no later than 4 business days prior to the scheduled meeting in order for proper notice to the public to be given. If extraordinary circumstances present themselves on an emergent basis within 4 days of a meeting, the council shall update its notice as soon as practicable to include that information. If it is not practicable for the council to update its notice, the council may reschedule its meeting. But again, that's up to the discretion of the council. So quorum is another big thing that we need to adhere to. So quorum, a member who's participating from a remote location does not add to the quorum. Only the people who are physically present can add to the quorum. If there is quorum at the physical location, then the remote member can still vote and still attend and still have and still participate, but they cannot physically add to quorum in order for us to have you know, be able to vote on resolutions and stuff. So that's kind of an important piece.
Jen, sorry, can you just clarify the very last thing you said? Did you say if they're not part of the physical quorum, they can't vote on resolutions?
They can.
Yeah, they can.
They can,
okay.
as long as there's physical quorum present.
Yeah, got it. Yep.
All right, so moving on, the other thing that we've also that we'll need to change going forward, the way we conduct remote meetings, is that we need to be seen, heard, identified. So our first and last names need to be shown up on the Zoom session if we're doing Zoom, and we need to have our face shown, as well as you know, this basically it's because we are publicly elected officials. This is part of the whole open government thing, that we need to be seen, heard, and known, identified. So this, so, you know, us kind of cutting out of the video and only heard via audio, we can't really do that going forward.
Jen, does it say that we only when speaking, or?
I would say that if you're not speaking, it's probably okay that you cut out video, but generally speaking, if you are speaking and participating, at that point when you're active, you definitely need to turn on your video.
I agree.
So the other thing is, if you are video conferencing, so it's not like you can't video conference from different locations. So if you are public, if you're going to say, I'm going to video conference in from a public space, then that space needs to be open to the public as well. So if you're going to say that your living room is a public space, you need to post your home address and so forth. But I think most of us will probably do private space remote conferencing. So I don't think that that's going to apply to us too much to us. Let's see. we're already doing this, but we definitely need to inform the public whenever video conferencing is being used. The public needs to be able to participate in such meetings as well. Required documents and records need to be posted and made available, either both at the physical location and online. So, basically, if we're putting up resolutions, then that needs to be accessible to the public, both physically as well as if they're dialing in. Council shall provide that each portion of any meeting conducted using extraordinary circumstances, video conferencing shall be recorded. Such recordings are posted or linked on the council's website within 5 business days following the meeting, and shall remain up for a minimum of 5 years thereafter. And transcriptions should be made available upon request. Let's see what else. Okay, and this part, definitely we need to video conference in a way that permits access by members of the public with disabilities. So that's another thing that we need to be careful about in terms of, whoa, what just happened? Sorry. Yeah, I'm on the next page, sorry.
Are you on the page that has number 9, 10, and 11 on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the last thing that the number 11, basically these rules shall not apply during a state disaster emergency. So basically, if the open meetings law gets suspended again, all of this becomes exempted. It's just as we have been doing. So if you could go down to the next grayed out segment. Oh, there we go. So as per Steve's request, which I thought was a really good idea as well, we're going to switch the calendar meetings and the business meeting order. So instead of doing the business meeting first, we're going to do that last, and the calendar meetings will be first. So calendar meetings will be scheduled at 6 p.m. and the business meetings will be scheduled for 7. So if you could scroll down a little bit more, Steve. I've also added, because part of the reasons why we're doing this is to sort of constrain the amount of time we spend on some of these meetings. But that also means that there might be things that we haven't finished discussing. So I've added that, and I've seen this done in other CECs as well. In the event that there is unfinished business, the council may vote to schedule an additional calendar meeting on another day of the same month, and may vote to schedule additional calendar meetings as needed. The public shall be notified of all calendar meetings. And I've added that as well for the business meeting, in case, our business meetings run, if it runs a little over, we can also have that same option of saying, let's just adjourn and schedule an additional meeting for the same month. So if we could scroll down to the next,
one thing here that I'm going to recommend is we take out this 7 p.m. time, and we just say a working business meeting shall be held following each calendar meeting.
Okay.
Because the calendar meetings run different lengths, as you know.
Yes, that's true. But basically anybody could motion to adjourn it and reschedule a second meeting for the same month to continue any discussions. All right, so moving on to the next grayed out segment. Okay, so the order of business at calendar meetings. So I've been looking at the templates and the bylaws a bit, and sort of what other CECs have done. And the spirit of a lot of these things is that everything we do needs to provide an opportunity for public comment and discussion. So what I've really done here is, when we present the resolutions, we're giving the opportunity for the public to comment on the resolutions, and then we can vote on the resolutions. The other way we can do this is which is actually also recommended, is we present the resolutions on one meeting and we don't vote on it until the next meeting, so that again, the public comment comes before the vote, so that they have an opportunity to speak on their opinions and what we are voting on. So that is something that also made a little bit of a tweak too in our order of business.
This order of business here, Jen, this is approval of minutes, report of president. So I'm going to go before David now. I like that.
We don't have to do that. We could.
I know, I'm kidding. It doesn't matter. Report of committees, resolutions. This is different. Wasn't this the way it was before, where we have the public speaking right before the votes, right?
We always had the public speakers right, like after, at the last. We always did that last.
Okay, I've been doing, all right, anyway, this is good. Yeah, this is how it should be. I agree. Public speaking right before you vote on the resolutions. I agree. The other thing you're mentioning is interesting about introducing them. I think that can almost be like that's not written in here, right? What you were saying about requiring them to be introduced at one meeting to be voted on at the next.
It is part of the open government guidelines.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to run afoul too much of that.
There's no guideline.
I mean, we can do whatever we don't. I wouldn't worry about that. But the one thing to consider is think about like month to month. A lot can happen in a month, right? And so like a resolution that might be timely in March, you get to April and suddenly there's, the whole situation could be different.
Right.
So,
but this is why I said, I wrote that we can present the resolutions, the public can immediately comment on it, and then we can vote directly after. It would also be very helpful if we could post those resolutions that we are going to vote on that month, like as soon as it's available onto our website, so that the public has the opportunity to review it beforehand.
Yeah, this was a whole category, and everyone, this is one thing to take a look at in the next 30 days. We take a look at the old bylaws, because there was a whole bunch of language about that, and it gradually got watered down over time to the point.
Yeah, it was all hacked together. The language didn't even sound the same because different people were working on it. It was kind of a mess.
Right. So people, if people need sort of ideas thinking about this, look at the last one, and then, because is there anything? Did you put something in here, Jen, that specifically talks about deadlines? Because it's a tricky one.
I did not want to add that because I wanted us to be open and have flexibility.
Right.
I would like to think that our council has good judgment.
Yeah, and there are issues that come up on very short notice where you're like, all right, we have to make. So anyway, I don't want to say much more about it right now. Let's all think about it, because it's important,
Yona, did you want to make a comment on this so far?
Yes. Hi, Jen. Okay, so I actually had to go, but once I saw that you were going to go over the draft, I postponed my plans. I wanted to say thank you for taking the time, and thank you so much for making the change of the public speakers before we vote on resolution, especially given that I was a new member. I really love that you did that, because I felt that hearing the comments after I voted on the resolution was actually, it actually made me overthink my answer, but it was too late for me to do anything. So I really appreciate that you gave this consideration. And I do believe that it is like the resolutions so far, I think that they are timely. So I wouldn't be against voting on the resolution at the same day, but after hearing the public comments. And I did mention even during this year that if the topic of the resolutions were to be made public before the meeting, I think that's also very helpful.
I totally agree. I think anything that we're going to actually vote on or discuss, any documents that we obtain or create, we really should try and post it as soon as possible, like several days in advance if possible, because I know that's not always we don't always have the ability to do that, but the public deserves an opportunity to look at it before they come to our meeting so that they can be prepared to make a statement or say something and give their opinion. Because that's what we're there for. We're there to serve them, not, they need to be able to communicate with us in a timely manner as well. But thank you, Yona. We're not voting on this today. This is just to present all the rough changes, because we can't actually vote on it today. We're supposed to vote on it in our August meeting. Elizabeth, Yona, did you have anything else you want to say before I move on?
No, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Elizabeth.
Oh, yes. Hey, I was just thinking because I was rethinking about it, and the business meeting is normally shorter. So I think we should keep it at the top because the calendar meeting always seemed to go really over. So, and also some parents come out later from work, they could be taking the train. So I think 7 or even 6:30 is better than say 6 o'clock, which is when we normally have our business meeting. Well, and I think a business meeting is not open to the public, so we'll have more time to privacy. Oh, it is open.
Yeah, both meetings are open to the public. The thinking was that because sometimes our calendar meetings run late, and a lot of parents have complained about it running so long and so deep into the evenings, that if we move it first, they have a better opportunity to jump in on that meeting. Because if it goes up until 10 p.m., no one's going to stay.
Yeah, but then if we move the business meeting, and then because you said there's also a chance for us to come back to a meeting the next some other time during the month, but I feel like it's just not so good. I'd rather finish everything in one day, Yeah. So that's my thinking.
Well, it's not that, it's an option that we have because the thing is that, there are times when a specific topic has run on, and there are, times when it's kind of no, people can't stay. So if we could reschedule another meeting at a time when everyone else can also reattend, it's not something that we have to do. It's an option that I added into the bylaws just in case we need to.
It can, yeah, and just to sort of add a couple things, we can do that anytime. Anytime we can call to adjourn a meeting, we can say, look, guys, it's late. We've gone on long enough on this. Let's adjourn. Do we need a special meeting? That's an option. Elizabeth, I think one thing that you're saying also was about the start of the meeting is 6 o'clock is too early, is what I heard you say, right?
Yeah, for the calendar meeting, to maybe for some parents, because because most of the parents go to our calendar meeting, not our business meeting. That's why I thought the business meeting was just a private meeting for us to talk about our issues or problems that's going on in the community.
No, almost all our meetings are open to the public.
Okay. Yeah. But more parents attend the calendar meeting.
Because that's the more interesting one.
Okay.
But we could ask around if you want, and see which time parents do prefer. And then
I think that'd be great.
Right. And then we could make changes to it at our next meeting, or get that feedback.
Because I kind of like that we wrap up the business meeting so good and quick, and then we don't have to think about it, and then it's one day, most of the time with the calendar, and sometimes it does go very long.
Elizabeth, one thing to think about is how we do the business meeting, and many times we'll finish say within a half hour.
Fast. Yes.
Right. And so then there's that empty space between the end of the business meeting and the start of the calendar meeting. And could that empty space be used? Again, that's kind of like wasted space, right? No one can really go do anything. You just are sort of left sitting there waiting until 7. So that was, if you flip them, if you put calendar first, you don't have that problem.
Personally, I kind of like that little resting time. Okay. That's for me. Like,
Yeah,
I don't like going straight.
this is something over the next 30 days, all of this, we should definitely start an email chain going on this, and everyone
Okay.
should read this and read read these bylaws, and this stuff has.
And then we should, yes, pull the parents.
And-
Yes, good. That'd be great.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I just want to add that other CECs have also flipped their meetings and have had good success with it.
Okay, great.
So, you know, we'll see how it goes, and definitely let's talk to our parents in our community and see what they feel like. All right, so the next grade out section, if you could just scroll down, Steve.
You're given 3 minutes speaking time.
Yes.
Up
Do you want to
from
remove
2?
that down to 2?
We'll talk about it. That's one thing to just think about. 3 minutes is a long time. But we could,
That was in our old bylaws.
3 minutes.
Yeah, I think so.
So I've been, by calling for 2 minutes at meetings, I've been violating. a
Well,
lot.
you haven't been violating because the chair can take appropriate measures
Right,
depending on how many speakers we have. So,
right.
all right. Okay, so the other thing is on our old bylaws, if you could pause there.
Yep.
When we don't have quorum, the old bylaws said to wait 30 minutes, which I think is too long. If you're not there within 15 minutes, you're not showing up as far as I'm concerned, but I'm a stickler for these sort of things. That is, again, I am open to discussion about that, but I've changed it to 15 minutes. So if people aren't there within 15 minutes of the time that the meeting is supposed to start, then we can just move ahead. All right, so next. Okay, so this one is also new. I added this because it was not in our old bylaws, but I thought it might be helpful. So this part says the council may appoint one of its members to serve as a parliamentarian to advise the council on matters of procedure and matters pertaining to these bylaws. So basically somebody on our council will need to be familiar with our bylaws and any resolutions or amendments to the bylaws, so that, you know, if there are any questions like, is this a roll call vote, or, you know, can we make a motion to do this? Is this a special meeting or not? Somebody could sort of be the advisor on that sort of thing. I think because I've worked on this, this might fall to me if we appoint a parliamentarian, but it's an option. It's not necessary, but it is something that you can assign or appoint. So moving on. Okay, oh, last part. I did not grade this out, but the last article I added transfer of knowledge. Steve, I'd spoken to you about this. So basically, it's a recommendation. At the end of the president's term, it is recommended that the president create a document listing ongoing projects, recommendations, and goals for the incoming council members. This document shall be circulated to all members for comment and approval. Said document may then be given to the administrative assistant to be passed on to the council. I could clear up this language to be a bit more clear and specific, but basically the idea is that, you know, when we were voted in, we were almost completely all new, and anything that the previous council was working on, we had no idea other than what Steve and Vito were.
That's not true, Jen. That's
telling us.
True.
Well, no, it was really, I was really thankful that we had you and Vito at all. But like, what if we were all completely brand new? It would have been really, we would have struggled so hard to.
Yeah, it makes sense. No, it makes sense.
I just thought it would be really nice if, like, at the end of our term, there was a little document that we could pass on to the next council as like, this is what we were hoping to achieve. This is what we are doing. This is the next steps for this project or goal that we need to follow up on, you know, and just be like, here, let's do with it what you will.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like, there are things that we definitely learned from the legislative breakfast. For instance, we could create a tip sheet that would be, you know, added onto this sort of thing that we can hand off to the next council as well. Little things like that. And that's that. Any questions about the bylaws before we move on to the hybrid meetings resolution?
And yeah, and just so everyone understands, I mean, Jen, do you want to just sort of next steps for the bylaws?
Yeah, so basically, I'm hoping that we can sort of discuss this via email chain and then present any changes necessary to the next meeting in August and then vote on it then. Because my goal here, and I think everyone's goal here, is to be able to get hybrid meetings off the ground as soon as possible. And the earliest we can do it after presenting the bylaws and the resolutions is to vote on it in August, and then we can do it in September. So, you know, barring any issues with that, that's the earliest we can do a hybrid meeting is in September. So that's my goal.
Cool.
If there are no other questions about the bylaws, Steve, can you pull up the resolution on video conferencing, hybrid meetings resolution?
Steve, I think I got it. You got it, Steve?
I'm pulling it up. Yep.
Okay.
I've pulled it up. Let me share my screen. Ugh. So annoying. Technology.
You'd think they would have fixed all of this for us, right?
There we go. Can you
Awesome.
see that?
This is boilerplate stuff that this was directly taken from Face. They gave me this template and I just changed some things to fit our CEC. So basically, if we go down to, let's see, let's go to we scroll down a little bit further. Okay, so this is the stuff that matters to us. Basically, be it resolved that it authorizes us to experience any member who experiences a quote unquote extraordinary circumstance as described as above, you know, like if you are disabled, you have childcare issues, job issues, and so forth, then you could video conference in, but as you can only do so as long as quorum of members attending in person is available at the location that we are meeting at, as long as the member can be seen, heard, and identified while the open portion of the meeting is being conducted, and so forth. What else? And that's pretty much the gist of the resolution. It's not really overly complicated. The thing that concerns me most is the technology that is required to do something like this, because again, as Vito has pointed out, they've given us no extra money to do this. And the meeting that I kind of attended with Face about it, someone mentioned meeting owls, but depending on the size of your meeting, one meeting owl is not going to be enough. It's like a meeting owl is like a 360 video conference tool. But again, it's I don't know if that's feasible for a meeting like ours, because it's usually meant for individuals in a conference. So you're sitting around sort of like a conference table, and the meeting owl sits in the middle and you know, sees all your faces and broadcasts that.
Diana, are you still here? Diana Perez Miller, I just want to ask you about this. All right. Yeah, I mean, the DOE, I've seen lots of requests for the DOE to provide specific, right, like the specific guidance as far as what hardware is necessary, and if not outright purchase it, at least streamline, facilitate the purchase. Here, go on to the DOE's website, approved vendors, order it up, get it in place. But I don't know if there's anything if we've had any formal guidance put out on that as of yet.
No, there isn't. As far as I can tell, we've been asking, other CECs have asked, and there's basically nothing. Like, we're basically on our own. And if we want to purchase something, it has to be either because some council member gifted us some stuff, or we purchase it on our own. But again, if we have to go through a DOE approved vendor to buy stuff, that's going to throw another wrench in, because you can't just buy what you want or need, right? You have to buy what they approve of, which
If they
again,
tell us what to buy and that to meet the guidelines, I'm fine with that.
but they haven't even done that.
And that's what if they do, that's my preferred course, rather than us try to trial and error a bunch of stuff.
That's what's happening across the city. Some of the CECs out there have basically just there was a comment that as thus far there has not been a single CEC that has really successfully done a good hybrid meeting. So that's not encouraging.
It's very tough, and honestly, like there's doing a good meeting, and anyway, let's wait and see. I definitely want to follow up with Face on this.
Yes. So that's where we're at.
and this, Jen, I mean, this is, like Jen said, this is strictly formulaic. We just have to pass this tonight.
Yeah, everything else, once this is in place, we can figure out the details afterwards. Elizabeth, you still had your hand up. Did you have anything else you want to say?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't know it was that. Thank you.
No problem.
We're good.
All right. That's the end of my spiel. Does anybody have any comments that they want to make about this stuff? I think I'm good, Steve.
Thanks, Jen, for everything you did on that. So
it was really boring.
Very much appreciated.
No problem.
So now we are at our public speaking, and gotta say, we've got 17 people in this meeting. Let me first see if anyone signed up on the form, or Vito, if you get there first. On the public speaking forum. Give me 1 minute here, guys.
I don't have that, Steve. I have, as I was
good.
before,
we got no one. We got no one on the forum. Anyone in the chat, or if there's any people on the line, I think it's pretty much just council members and interpreters at this point. Is there anyone in the room who would like to speak? Public comment? And interpreters, is there anyone on the language lines dialed in who would like to speak? Okay. I think we're good. It's July.
There was no one on Arabic line.
Okay. Good to know. I guess we can just now vote on the resolution, on the one resolution. So I will pull up that resolution again and ask Vito, I guess you would be the one taking the votes on that.
Okay, you could just stand by, please.
Yep. Vito, while you're doing that, actually, I'll email people with thoughts. I'm thinking about maybe setting up I'm just thinking about for the bylaws discussion for all the different topics that might come up. If maybe it makes sense. Do people think it makes sense to have separate working email chains on that, or maybe a shared Google document? What would people find more helpful?
Maybe both.
Yeah.
There'd be a shared Google document, and then we can comment it via an email chain.
Put the text, maybe put the text on different tabs of a Google Doc, and then, okay. All right, I'm just thinking out loud there. Vito, let me know whenever you're ready.
Give me a minute, please.
Are you trying to pull up a vote sheet?
Yes.
Can you just, is
I just
there,
want to take it. I just want to take, give me a second. See, I'm sorry. I just
okay,
want
no
to
problem.
get the same people that were here and go right to them and pull it up so I have it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So this is the matter of the, this is the resolution for virtual meetings. Is that the title? Does it have a number?
No, we've got to add one, actually. We'll add that.
It's number 13.
Yeah.
Number 13 of 2022, 23, right?
And let's just call it, Jen, what should this be called?
I just kind of called the document the hybrid meeting resolution,
So
but we could call it the video conferencing or resolution if you like.
Hybrid, I think, is more let's do hybrid meeting resolution. That's fine. I'll just add that to the title.
Resolution. Okay, great. So in that matter, we're going to take a roll call now. President Steve Stowe.
I vote yes, approve.
Vice President Jennifer Hugh.
Yes.
Second Vice President Elizabeth Chan.
Yes.
Recording Secretary Vito Labella, yes. Did Li Ping Yang, are you here?
Yes.
Are you voting yes?
Yes.
Yona left, is that correct?
Uh-oh.
Yona, are you here?
I hope we still have 6.
That's why I wanted to do this. Yona, are you here? No, she had to leave. Joyce, are you here?
Yes.
There we go. Are you voting yes?
Of course.
Thank you so much.
That was close there.
We have 6. That's what's required. Thank you for indulging me, Steve. That's why I was stressing.
Of course.
Sorry, Vito.
Okay, and now it's 9:15, and I think we're done. I'm going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
On favor? Yes.
Aye.
Okay. See everyone in August.